Hey, what's up? It's Swamp. Back for another tutorial. Okay, in this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make a snake. I had a snake in my Halloween track, and a few people asked me if I could do a tutorial on it, so here it is. First, you need to make the pieces. I have 13 pieces for my snake because it's a Halloween track snake, but you can use as many as you want. The longer you make it, the more realistic it'll kind of look, but then again, it's a lot of animation. And I had the spider animation going on at the same time, so I didn't want to make the game lag, Rising does pretty good without, with the animation, but still, if you do a lot, it's going to start slowing down. Okay, so now I use this piece here, which is from Blood Dragon, the science fiction section, the movie prop set, and I used variation 3, and then I scaled it down to 0.18. And that'll give you the, and then I, glued 3 of them together for the body parts. For the tail, I just, scaled it down. Try to make all your body part pieces the same width. You see, I have these tail pieces are pretty much the same width as these pieces over here. And then for the head, I used the crocodile head, flipped it upside down for the bottom, and then I used one of these body pieces for the back of the head. So everything's glued together and we're all ready to go to animate. So first what you need to do is grab some variables. I use variables in these because there's a lot to change sometimes if you want to change settings, and it's easy if you use a variable for those settings. So first we're going to have 5 variables. We're going to use 2 here, 1 here, and 2 more over here. Okay, and then we're also going to grab a 1 input operator, which is going to give us the negative number of one of these variables. So click on the operand, pick value object, and select the variable there. Okay, and so what that's going to do is that's going to give us a positive and a negative number, which we need for the serpentine, the turning back and forth. Okay, so now this first variable we're going to set to 620. It's going to be the duration, how long the snake moves. Okay, and then the second variable we're going to set to 65. This is going to be the distance the snake moves. It's going to crawl 65 meters. And these are just the settings that I set mine to. You can set yours. It just depends on how far and how fast you make it go as to how fast it's going to go. So, okay, so this is the delay between the pieces. So we're going to set this to 4. Once again, you can set it to a different number if you'll just have to play around with it. If you make it just like mine, then 4 will work. But if you use your own piece, if you use a pipe piece or something like that, then it's going to be longer or shorter. Depends. You're just going to have to play with it. Okay, now this is going to be the duration of the turn for the snake. We're going to set this to 34. And that's the duration, how long it takes for the snake to loop back and forth right and left. Okay, and this is going to be the angle that the snake turns. And I'm going to set this to minus 36. Now once again, we can adjust this. This is why we're using variables, is so we can adjust the snake turn. So you can set it to however you want it to work in your track. And it'll be, you can set it exactly like you want it. Now let's lift these up a little bit because we're going to put some stuff in between this. So let's lift these up. Okay, now we're going to grab an object position event, one of my favorite tools. Okay, now we'll need 2 curved data sources to go with this. So we're going to grab 2 curved data sources. Now this is going to like animate just one section of the head of the snake. So we're going to start with the head. So let's set up the first curved data source. So let's open it up. We're going to start at 0 and we're going to end at 65. That's how far the snake is going to travel. And then the duration is going to be 620. That's how long it's going to take to travel 65 meters. Okay, now the second curved data source, we're going to set the start to minus 36, this first variable here. And then it's going to end on 36. So that's going to be the amount of turn it's making when it's going back and forth serpentining. Okay, and then the duration, we're going to set to 34. That's how long it takes to loop one of those turns. To do that, we're going to need to set looping, and we need to set invert second half. Okay, so these are all set up. Now we're going to animate. We're going to set up the object position event. So with your snake, you may need to play around with these. For mine, X is what you need, but you may need Y or Z depending on how you build your snake. So we're going to hook that to this first curve data source. And what our goal is to get the snake moving forward. So to affect the snake, we need to set it as an event target. So select event target, we're going to select the head. All right, now to power all this, we need an interval trigger. So we're going to grab that interval trigger. Now what this does is it sends power to the object position event. So we're going to set it to send power or an interval once every frame. So it'll be a real smooth animation. And select event filter, we're going to connect to the object position event. Now we should turn all of these off. So we turn off enabled on the curve data source, and we turn off enabled on the object position event, because we're going to turn these on with state events. So now let's grab a state event and let's set it to on, and the event target is going to be the curve data source and the two curve data sources and the object position event. And now to power this, we need an impulse to power this. So you could use an interval trigger, or you can use an area trigger, or you could use a checkpoint or any other logic that you're using. I'm going to use an interval trigger because it's pretty easy to test stuff like this. So we'll set it up, we leave it turned on, we select disable after in impulses and set that to 1, and then select event filter. So this is going to send one impulse to the on event, and it's going to turn on these this object position event and these curved data sources. Now right now we only have the X position hooked up, so we're going to check that and make sure it works correctly. And yes, that's what we want. We want the snake to move forward. So now we want it to serpentine back and forth. So we're going to set the rotation to the next curved data source. Now for mine, it's yaw, but you might need a different axis because it's just, you know, it's different with everything that you build. So we're going to set that to yaw and we're going to test it. Let's turn around like this so we can see if it works. And yes, it goes back and forth like we want it to go. Okay, so now we want to copy this and power the rest of the snake. So let's grab a delay filter, and this is going to delay the start, and that's where this middle variable comes in. We're going to connect that to this for variable here for the delay between the starting of the pieces. Okay, so we go to the on state event and we select event filter and go to the delay. Okay, so now let's select the object position event, the two curved data sources, the state event, and the delay, and let's copy that and bring it over just a little bit. Just set it down for now. Okay, so now let's open the object position event and let's disconnect this target, because we don't want them all. We only want each one of these to power just one body piece. Okay, so now we can copy this. So we need 13 of these tool cards, 13 sets, because we have 13 pieces. So let me do that now. Okay, so now I'm going to grab all these and I'm going to move them back a little bit because they are kind of spread out a bit. And I want to bring them back just a little bit because it's kind of hard to deal with the hooking everything up when they're so far away. All right, so now what we need to do is just connect everything together. So go to these delay filters and connect to the very next state event. So let's do that now. Okay, and now let's connect all the object position events to their body pieces and run the event filter through to the next object position event. So let's select event target. We want to start I'm sorry, we already did that one. That was the first one, so we need to go to the second one. Sorry, we need to keep this impulse going. So select event filter. Let's go to the next object position event. And then let's go to here, select the body part, and then the next object position event. All right, so let me get that done. Okay. All right, so now the secret to all this, and this is going to work, but it's not connected together. It doesn't, what the secret to all this is to put everything in the same spot to start from. So start everything from the same position. All right, so I'm going to snap all these together to the drive line and then try to get them as close as I can. It's not super crucial that they're exact, but it looks good if you get them really close. Okay, now let's test it out. And there we go. So now you can take and you can adjust these variables to get sharper curves, you know, more serpentine. You could go a lower number / higher number with this, and you know, you could do it'll make sharper turns and be more squiggly, you know, like let's try this 68. So you see now the snake is turning a lot further. And then you can, you know, you can bring this down, make this a lower number / higher number, and I mean smaller number, and it'll be it'll turn less abrupt. It'll be more, you know, streamlined kind of curve. So let's try like 16. And see, it's more like an eel or something like that as opposed to a snake. So, okay, so now, and for the color, what I did, my snake was all red. So what I did was okay, so what I did was I selected all the snake pieces. And then I set their decal target category to custom. And then I grabbed a decal and I set decal target to custom and set it exactly. And then the texture I used was just this big square. And then I made it red. Made it really large. So you can make this really big. And then when the snake crawls through it, it's a red snake. So that's how I colored my snake, and that's how I built it. You can play around with these numbers. You can speed it up. You can make it go further. You can make it go faster. You can see, let me adjust this number. Let's set this to 7. And you'll see that the pieces get separated. See, the pieces get separated. So that's what you'll have to adjust with yours. It depends on how long and wide your pieces are. So mine works with 4, but yours may work with a different number. So that's why I set all these up with variables, is so you could adjust it and make yours look like you want it to, make it act like you want it to. All right, cool. So I hope that helps. Thanks for watching and have a good time.